Okay, it's Saturday afternoon, May the... Really?
May the 4th.
So May the 4th, 2013. That means that tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. All the cooking shows are doing Mexican.
Mexico's Independence Day, Cinco de Mayo.
Why do we celebrate that?
Because it's an excuse for Americans to get drunk. What do you think?
And to eat tacos and burritos and,
well,
you know.
Anytime I ever went to a Cinco de Mayo advertised event, there were college-age kids, you know, the drink and puke generation that just wants to get a buzz and get bombed and puke. I didn't see too many people enjoying Mexican food during Cinco de Mayo. They're all bombed.
Well, all the chefs on the Food Network are cooking Mexican.
Yes.
Okay?
You know what? Fuck.
Oh, God.
Somebody's playing some classic rock out there.
Hey!
Good music, but
good background.
There's a lot of Sabatucci going on with progressive discussions lately. A lot of it. And you're going to be hearing me raise my voice. So, you know, somebody opened their mouth and when they shouldn't have, unauthorized comment from our staff.
I don't think the mic picks up that crap.
Yeah, there's just a lot of irritating things going on, you know. And hey, last week we had the dog barking outside. Yeah, it wasn't funny. Anyway, now we got a bunch of laughing hyenas out there.
I don't hear them.
Yeah, I do.
Mike's over here.
Welcome to Progressive Discussions. This is Progressive Discussions coming to you from the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey. And I am your host for Progressive Discussions, James P. Madonna of Megalife 21. Now I will formally pipe aboard, and this time I will do it loudly as to irritate others, possibly bust...
You don't irritate the dog.
Possibly bust... You know what? The same dog might start barking. Possibly bust their eardrums for trying to sabotage the show. Formally pipe aboard, my co-host and mentor, with my bosun's whistle. Arr, arr, ahoy matey and welcome aboard. Our progressive liberal pirate ship.
Excuse me.
The Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. How are you doing this Saturday?
Not too good, but I don't remember why.
Well, I'm not doing too good, and I do remember why. But if I go into it, it will waste valuable time.
Oh.
You know, I notice when actress Reese Witherspoon was in a drunken tirade with the police. She eventually...
Stay in the car.
Well, she eventually started telling the police, do you know who I am? Do you know my name? I bet you don't know my name. Like, in other words, was she trying to ask for special treatment because she was a rich celebrity?
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon?
Yeah. Much like the Koch brothers try to do, or Adelson,
Yeah.
or all the rich try to do.
So they could do something wrong, even if it's a minor crime, a slap on the wrist, or it could be major or mediocre crime, and they want to be excused because they're famous and they have a lot of money. Do you know who I am? Do you know my name?
She also said she was pregnant and had to go pee.
And that wasn't true. She was not pregnant.
Not true.
And she confessed that she, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. So I want to tell you a little story. Remember the dermatologist appointment I had this month, and I got there, and the dermatologist called out the last minute that he's not showing up after I commuted. Well, I made a second appointment, and it was at the same time, 1:30 p.m., and I went to the office. I drove all the way down there to the office, and I was in a room with other...
Wait a minute, didn't you confirm that?
Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me. I called the office about a half hour before my scheduled appointment, and I said, is the doctor going to be in? Is the doctor in the building? Oh, they said, oh, no, but he will be here any minute now.
Yeah.
He will be, he's on his way. I go, are you sure he's going to be there? He's not calling out? Okay, I'm coming down. I come down. I'm sitting in a waiting room, which is not to be confused with the smaller waiting room, if you know what I mean. You know, with the roll of paper on the table. And I'm sitting there, and the lady that handles the insurance comes out and announces to the waiting room, oh, the doctor is not going to be in until 3 or maybe 4 p.m. He's tied up.
Is he a bondage enthusiast?
I don't know. He might have been. But the point I'm making is a lot of people were pretty angry, including myself, because we're not going to sit in a waiting room from 1:30 to 3 or 4. Or what if it's not 3 to 4? What if it's 5 to 6?
What if he cancels out?
What if he cancels out and we're all sitting there and there's no television? There's only a big flat screen promoting his dermatological practice. No entertainment.
Well, you're lucky it ain't on Wall Street. You know, CNBC or whatever. Like in the banks, CNBC is on in the banks.
So what I'm trying to say is, I guess if we stiffed the physician, they would charge us. They would bill us. I guess their time is more valuable than our time.
Oh, indeed. Indeed.
So, you know, I am sure they will bill us if we stiff them. If we called out the last minute, they wouldn't like that.
No, they don't.
But they could do it to us.
Correct.
So I just find that interesting.
Well, they're celebrities, I guess, too, like Reese.
Well, a doctor is
special treatment.
He has a demand profession. It's a demand profession, and they feel basically they're at a higher level than the average Joe six-pack that's sitting in the waiting room, and that they're better. Same thing with Reese Witherspoon, and possibly many other celebrities, rich people. You know, like if you go to Lord & Taylor, I used to know somebody who's a fine jewelry manager, and the rich lady with all the diamonds and gold and everything, she's tapping on the counter. Meanwhile, the other associates are already taking care of customers. So she's tapping on the counter, like, in other words, going, clearing her throat. In other words, excuse me, is there anybody here to help me? Well, you look around, and all the associates are helping other customers. So I guess she wanted them to drop the customer they had and run to her because she was so special, because that's what she thought, because she was rich.
Treat me like the only customer in the store.
Right, like she's better than the other customers.
Correct.
Right. I noticed this overall pattern with human beings today, with human nature. So, it's a pattern. Okay, now, I'm going to do a little, alright, before I do the Chiseler's Hall of Shame, which is going to be food related, I was chatting with one of our members of our Facebook group. She's on Holistic Health Talk and Hard Hitting Truth. So, you know, she's very much into holistic health. I'm not going to mention any names because she's a very good, excellent contributor of information to the group. Very smart woman. She's from Nevada. Okay. Now, she says, we're talking, somehow it got into politics. It went from holistic health into politics. So she says, if you're poor or low income and you get a small loan from whatever source you're getting it from, let's say you have a couple $1,000 or let's say you have $4,000 from workforce, which is the maximum that they'll give you, instead of going back to school for a so-called demand occupation that may not exist when you graduate because of oversaturation of jobs, why don't you just give a small amount of money to those with skills already so they can open up a small business pertaining to the skill that they already have? And I had told them that, and then she says, well, there are laws that help small businesses and entrepreneurs to help you get started.
You have to jump through so many hoops, it's pathetic.
Yes.
I've been there and done that.
So-called...
I've been there and done the grant route, too.
So the Pell Grants and all this malarkey.
Not Pell Grants, but business grants and stuff.
Right, and and there are all these programs that are supposed to help the little guy get started, like you're going to survive against the big corporations. I mean, against the big stores, rather. So, her feeling is that this way, like let's say a poor guy used to clean carpets for somebody, and the poor guy, instead of going on social services, give him a little startup money to invest in a new or used carpet cleaner and let him start his own business.
Now,
but that's an ideal situation. The point is, what are these poor people going to see? She says this way the poor will be self-sufficient and be able to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. But what are the poor people starting a small business going to live on and pay their bills, utilities, groceries, and whatever, while they're trying to build their small business?
Now, in Italy,
from scratch,
they do that, something like that. When you're on unemployment, they will give you all of your unemployment as long as you get 9 other people to go into business with you. A cooperative business. And like I said, they will give you up front all of your unemployment money to go into business.
Okay.
Now, of course, if the business fails, the business fails. I don't know what you do after that. But they will do that. But self-sufficiency in a corporate world, what the hell are you talking about? No such thing.
With all these mom and pop stores and small businesses going belly up, and all the and the corporations, the retail chains like your Home Depot and Petco, PetSmart, Walmart, whatever. With all these chains, they're putting the small businesses, which have expertise, by the way, out of business, and because they're able to sell much cheaper than the mom and pop store without the expertise.
That's what Cabela's does. You know Cabela's?
Yeah, the hunting and camping supplies.
That's what they do. They go into places and they put the little guy out of business.
Right.
The little guy who knows more than they do, been around for a long time. Hey, you want certain fishing rod? Hey, I know what I'm talking about. They don't. Cabela don't. But that's what they do, just like Walmart.
And they'll refurbish, use fishing reels, or you go to any mom and pop store that's family owned, where these people are in the business for generations. They have expertise, but Americans do not want to pay the higher price, retail price.
But why do we have the higher price with the smaller business? There's a reason for that.
Because he doesn't buy in volume like the fat cat does.
Yeah.
Like your, like I mentioned before, like your Cabela or
Walmart,
Petco, PetSmart.
Well, remember when
Home Depot,
when those places go belly up, the big boys, all they leave behind is devastation.
Sure.
And when they move into a place, they get tax abatements, they get subsidies, they get all kinds of things to help their business. What about the little guy?
Now, when I needed to go to True Value Hardware because Home Depot and Lowe's does not carry the gasket for the Presto stainless steel pressure cooker, I had to go to True Value Hardware. Those guys knew their shit. Those guys that own the family-owned business that owned the True Value Hardware franchise, they knew a lot, because not only what they were telling me in conversation, but what they were telling other customers plumbing information, electrical information.
There you go.
They knew their stuff. But yes, and the prices weren't that bad, really, at True Value. But they may very well be somewhat higher than what a Lowe's or a Home Depot charges. But they had expertise. But no, Americans want to shop strictly for price. So therefore, and they buy in volume.
How come the rich don't do that? And how come people who want to buy Mercedes and BMWs and they don't do that?
No, they don't care.
Yeah.
You mean bargain shop?
Yeah.
No, they don't give a shit.
Bargain shopping. You know, I'd like to see a poll and see exactly who are these bargain shoppers.
The average folk?
Yeah. If that's what it is. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'd like to see
so this
study.
So this concept, this idea by the woman in Nevada that I just mentioned, I mean, what I had said was, doing this is like giving the poor a sales job with just commission and no salary. How are you going to survive if you don't know what your income is going to be? And she admitted at the beginning, you may have to take a lot of handouts from family and friends, and you might have to really, really budget and be rock bottom before you turn a profit.
Succeed.
But how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to buy food? How are you going to pay your rent? So on and so on and so on. If
these things, look, the setup is wrong.
Not counting the tax breaks that
everybody whose brain is not tied behind his back understands the setup is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to it every time. God's economics. Everybody owns their own land and way to make a living.
Right.
Until we get that type of economics, none of this stuff is going to work.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not set up to work.
Right. Plus the tax burden will be on the small businessman, not on the rich.
And why is that?
That's the way they have it rigged.
That's correct.
Because the politicians in Washington are paid off by the fat cats?
Correct. So for the last 30-some years, all subsidies, monies of any nature, form, or whatever, have been skewed upward.
Yeah.
Okay, not downward, like they was after World War II, when the middle class flourished and blossomed because of regulations.
Right. Even during Eisenhower in the 1950s, right? The economy was decent. He was like one of the last actually nice Republicans.
Well, that's when Republicans, were didn't have the Tea Party crap all the time.
Right, and they had the 90
right-wing religious nuts conservatives.
And they had the 91% tax rate back then, right?
Yeah.
FDR, Truman, and Eisenhower days. Now for the Chiseler's Hall of Shame. Okay, I want to start with the company called Abbott Labs. No relation to Bud Abbott. Hey, Abbott.
Hey, Abbott.
Our levity bells. Old-fashioned jingle bells. Abbott Labs. Shame on you. The makers of Similac baby formula, which first ingredient is first ingredient 39% corn syrup.
Oh God.
The second ingredient is genetically modified soy protein isolate.
Oh God.
The corn syrup is probably from GMO corn, by the way. And the third ingredient is sugar. Plain old sugar.
What the hell do you think corn syrup is?
Sugar. So 39% corn syrup, and it was found to contain GMOs. What a wonderful food to feed your baby.
Wait a minute.
To start a child's life.
That is to kill your baby. Because that's what GMO foods do.
Yeah.
Eventually. They kill.
Yeah.
They are not good.
But
they are disastrous.
But the predominant ingredient...
Even besides that, I'm talking about the GMO altering itself is a disaster.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And that's not counting sending your baby's blood sugar to high heavens, you know, as the first ingredient.
Diabetes coming up.
The first ingredient, yeah, childhood obesity, diabetes. The first ingredient, 39% corn syrup. Then GMO soy protein isolate. So shame on you, Abbott Laboratories making Similac baby formula. You're on the Chiseler's Hall of Shame list big time. Now,
you know, in the old days, probably back in the 80s or so, when we had that big problems with the infant formulas, they lacked B6. And I believe they also lacked taurine at one time. They were not complete, you know, things to be feeding babies.
Well, if you have to enrich food with, if you have to spike it with synthetic vitamins, synthetic B vitamins, and some minerals, and there goes my shillelagh. Minerals of B vitamins. You know, if you have to enrich something because you took something away.
Yeah, like white flour. You take away 26 or 27 important items and etc., and replace 4 fake ones.
Right. So you
the body can't even use.
You remove the germ and the bran of wheat, and you end up with just the starchy part, the endosperm, the carbohydrate section, and you're putting back synthetic nutrients after you have removed natural nutrients. That's not real food.
No.
That's junk food as far as I'm concerned.
Wouldn't even give it the name food.
Right. No. Doesn't deserve the name food. Well, I don't think the products put out by American food companies deserve the name food.
No, they're made for profit. They're not made for you know, the health, for your health.
Shelf life.
Shelf life and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
why there's
look, the number one job of a corporation is to make money for the shareholders. Period.
Like I'm supposed,
it doesn't have anything to do with a good
to give a shit about that.
That's what the system is set up for.
That's why these so-called food products are, many of them are loaded with partially hydrogenated trans fats to increase shelf life. Because if you put cold-pressed natural oils in it, they'll go rancid.
But that's not, you know, you got to understand what the point of a corporation who makes a product is. To make money for the shareholders.
Fuck the CEO and the corporation.
No, fuck the system.
The system that allows.
Don't blame the corporation for doing what it is allowed to do.
Well, don't they pay off the they pay off the politicians?
Again, I come back to that word.
Don't they pay off the politicians?
It's not a 4-letter word either. Regulation.
So when they're regulated, like they were during FDR and Truman, the shenanigans are not being pulled on the population, on the mainstream, because there's regulations in place to protect the mainstream American.
Let me give you a little example. Remember the Dodd-Frank bill that was passed like maybe 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, of course, there was one provision in there that is supposed to, oh Jesus, it's flown from my mind, but to protect the consumer, okay? And, of course, the lobbyists for the big boys have been there, and they have prevented the Security and Exchange Commission from doing anything. And there you got it.
Hey.
And that's what happened with Wall Street, with the big financial meltdown.
Goldman Sachs.
Security and Exchange Commission did nothing.
As opposed to the country of Iceland that did everything and the right thing. Threw them in jail. Threw them in prison and tossed the key away practically. The banksters. And all right, second section of the Chiseler's Hall of Shame, which is also food related, is a true story that happened recently, and it's pretty gross. It really turns your stomach.
Oh no, I gotta eat soon.
Well, not in that way.
Oh, okay.
Let me read it. Recently, in China, the Chinese government made 900 arrests busting a long-running multi-million-dollar food scam in China, where they were caught taking chemical-soaked rat meat, mink, fox meat, other roadkill, and chicken claws, ground up and packaged as beef, lamb, and mutton.
Oh, God.
Pretty nice. Now, you know, you see what conservative capitalism did to mainland China, the People's Republic of China?
You see what it did to
Corrupted
Russia?
it. You see,
what it did
this
to
is
Russia?
proof.
See what it did to Russia?
Corrupted it.
Wherever it goes.
You see? You see?
Wherever it goes.
People, the Chinese people themselves are so disgusted and fed up by this, and I don't. Wait a minute. If this was going on, and the Chinese government arrested 900 people and busted this ring, this scam, they must have known. Somebody in government must have known this was going on.
Probably
in China. How do you get away with it?
It just got too big.
Well, the article had stated that there's really no consumer
Protections over
protection
there. Yeah,
or regulations, so it's pure conservative, Republican-style capitalism at its worst, with no regulations whatsoever, and
capitalism
and no consumer protection.
Capitalism under state communism. They are red communists.
Right.
China.
Then
Okay.
Then, but what about?
They're using capitalism to get rich,
So these companies,
to grow.
these companies that were
Profit.
taking the rat meat and
Mhm.
disguising it, and I mean this is what meat byproducts are if you buy your dog or cat supermarket dog food or cat food, and it says meat byproducts. It could be any damn thing, for God's sakes. In this case,
it used to be roadkill.
it could be roadkill. This is what they're feeding. They were feeding to the Chinese people.
Yeah.
Not to mention the horrible air pollution in Beijing.
Well, that's because they're trying to catch up.